You're a sellout! You're not credible no more! You're a horrible reviewer! I hate you!
Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Ty Dolla record, Free TC. Mr. Ty Dolla is a 2014 XXL freshman, California artist, singer, songwriter, and this is his full-length commercial debut record. And I wasn't really anticipating this record. Also, I thought his inclusion in the XXL list was kind of confusing given that he's more of an R&B singer than he is a rapper. But more and more rappers these days are also singing and blending rap music with pop, with R&B. So the distinction between singer and rapper every year is getting harder and harder to make. And I will say that Ty has some actual singing chops. I think he is a talented singer, but the music he's made up until this point has mostly registered to me as just very slick, very commercial R&B music, something I'm not typically interested in. I'm usually intrigued by stuff that's just a little bit more left field. But when reading into the backstory about this new record, also looking at the very somber cover on this thing, and finding out that this album is kind of in tribute to Ty's brother, who is currently locked up, and hearing that his brother is actually on the album, and also seeing guest appearances from people like Kanye West, Kendrick Lamar, YG, Fetty Wap, I thought, okay, maybe Ty is doing something interesting here. And to a point, I think he is. I think Ty is coming off much edgier than your average R&B singer on this record. There is an appearance from R. Kelly deep in the track listing here, which I think is pretty telling. It's kind of obvious that R. Kelly is a pretty big influence on Ty, just not when it comes to the music and his vocal style, but he seems to be an R&B singer who is pretty misbehaved, sort of a bad boy. Take the song Credit, for example, where he is singing to this girl that he's in a relationship with, telling her that he's never smoked at her mom's house, he's never flirted with her homegirls, as if, you know, this is like the glue that holds their relationship together. But despite the obvious flaws in this relationship, there does seem to be real love and desire there between these two people. There's a real obsession and a need to stay together, and I think some lines and lyrics in here that show some genuine love and appreciation too. And speaking of credit, there's a sea of producers on this record, all of whom make this record sound gorgeous. There are wonderful, nuanced bits of grand piano and strings, as well as some guitar on here, which sounds really sweet, really rich, really melodic. And then there are like really modern trap-flavored club bangers on here as well. Even a DJ Mustard produced beat, which you guys should know how that sounds at this point. There's a variety of influences all over this record, sometimes all coming together on one single track, like on the song Whatever, where all at once we're hearing these rattling trap hi-hats, some gospel-style vocals, and these really freaky, raspy, soulful, falsetto vocals that seem like they're being pulled out of the Rick James, Prince, kind of Al Green playbook. But given the overabundance of tracks and features here in the track listing, I did expect that I would run into some filler, or at least some tracks that were kind of throwaway. And that is the case. Some of the songs in the track listing here just go left, like on the song Guard Down, which is one of my favorite tunes here. I think at the core of this song, there is a well-meaning song, some great vocal melodies, some good lyrics about hope and keeping faith. But the beat here has these really ear-piercing chirps that I think really just ruin the vibe of the song. And then we have a Kanye West appearance, which is easily the most phoned-in feature on the entire record. And then all of a sudden, P. Diddy pops in to do a weird monologue. It was old, halfway into the one he did on Meek Mill's record, Why Are We Getting Another? Now, in the second half of the record, we're getting all of these moody, atmospheric, syrupy, trap-flavored, R&B tinged bangers with people like Wiz Khalifa and Fetty Wap, which are just kind of mediocre. They seem so mindless in comparison with so many of the stunning cuts in the first half of the album. I think the closest Ty comes to pulling together a good banger in the second half of this album is the song with Ray Sremmurd and Future, the song Blase. But even this track is kind of ruined by the really redundant beat, and Ty already put together the best banger in the track listing here in the first half, the song with E40. The song Bring It Out of Me is this terrible EDM pop has the worst lyrics on the entire record. It's kind of sad. It's like the entire second half of this album is just trying to make up for lost ground by appealing to the lowest common denominator one track after another, just because the first half of the album was so tasteful and personal, emotional, and moving. Sadly, the R. Kelly feature on the record is kind of underwhelming, and with all of these guest singers on the second half of this album, I mean, I like Ty's singing, but he doesn't have the most distinct voice on the block, and as a result, I think he ends up sounding like a guest on his own tracks, especially the ones where he's loading one rapper after another on here. The only salvageable moment on the second half of this record was the last song, which has beautiful shimmering jazzy instrumentation. Obviously, Thundercat had a hand in making this instrumental, and most importantly, I think this song brings back the very personal vibe that makes the first half of this album so great. Now, as far as the first half goes, I think the whole album starts off with a stunner, the song LA, which has these wonderful, sharp background vocals. LA! There's a dramatic monologue at the start of this track, some beautiful string sections, and some great lyrics from Ty, just about his personal life and just where he comes from. And Kendrick Lamar's verse on this track really sort of brings home the lyrical power of this song. Right after, Ty manages to pull together a club banger without throwing his class out of the window on the song Saved. It does have a hard-hitting, dance floor-friendly beat, but the vocal work on top of it is really nice. The tune on the song Straight Up is a little mundane, but again, the vocal work is good. But Ty really starts letting go on the song Solid, which is this really sharp guitar-backed track with this sweet little lick. Hey, you know it, and I'm solid. And Ty comes through with a lot of swagger on this track, a lot of character, a lot of personality. He's braggadocious, he's got charisma, and the singing is really wonderful too. And I love the groovy little bass line that's tucked away behind the acoustic guitar. Even though there's no really loud booming drums on this track, it's got a sweet groove to it. And then we have the breathtakingly beautiful but also cold-hearted Horses in the Stable. A song essentially about Ty having women all over the country that are interested in him that he sleeps with, he hooks up with them, and his lyrics on this track are cold as hell, saying things like, you're just another woman and this is just another night. And that very mean attitude contrasts to the beautiful music. I mean, the tune of this track is gorgeous. I mean, I've been listening to it over and over and over. I've been returning to this track again and again and again since I've heard this record. I love this song. It's one of my favorite songs of the year. If you listen to any song off of this record, listen to this goddamn song, please! And the song Know Ya right after is almost an extension past this track because it's Ty singing to a woman who obviously wants to be with him. They slept together, but Ty isn't really taking her requests all that seriously because, you know, he's saying, okay, you think this is like way more serious than it really is. I don't even know you. Like, I know we got together, but I don't even really know you. And the instrumental on this track takes a more modern, bassy, moody, hip-hop flavored sound. Kind of reminds me of something that would land on the latest Travis Scott record. And I'm liking these transitions. It seems like on the first half of this album, we're getting a completely different record than what's on the second half of this album. The tracks seem sequenced in a very purposeful way. The songs are great. The lyrics seem a little more thoughtful. And the songs Miracle and Whatever, which pretty much end the first half of the record, are emotional stunners. Here, we've kind of been building up this story of Ty's brother being in jail. You hear a lot of these vocal cuts of Ty talking with his brother on the phone about music, about the album, about just life in general. It seems like they have a really strong connection. There's a serious element of just heartstring pulling on these parts where Ty is talking to his brother, and then his brother appears on the song singing, and the singing is great. And I mean, there is a little ambient noise around his voice, so it sounds like it's not recorded in a studio or anything like that, but it adds so much character to the song and to this album to have an appearance with this person on this record. And the performances, while the recording is rough, they sound good. I mean, the singing on this track is better than some of the singing of dudes who are actually able to be in a studio. And the song Whatever, it's just so goddamn powerful. I mean, Ty really channels gospel music and turns it into something that seems new and is just really heartbreaking and stunning. And it's such a jaw-dropping first half on some of these songs. And it's sad that Ty just kind of lets go of all the positive qualities of this album so far on the second half just to kind of churn out some really commercial club bangers. I mean, I would have loved this thing if it were just like an EP of the first half of this record. Because once Whatever rolls by, we start getting generic bangers, subpar features, subpar songs, the personality and the emotion and the intimacy of the first half, all these songs that kind of let you know who Ty is as an artist, they're just completely all out the window. I love the first half of this record to death. The second half of the record has some serious lows on it, but a great deal of the songs are at least tolerable. Overall, I like the album, even though I feel like I'm really getting kind of two records here. And Ty himself, I will certainly be looking out for whatever he does in the future, but he's just capable of so much more than what he handed over on the second half of this record. And the first half of the record proves that. I'm feeling a decent to strong 6 on this thing. Tran?
Oh yeah, Zishin. Have you given this record a listen? If you did you love it? Did you hate it? And what would you rate it? What should I review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Ty Dolla Sign, forever.